Please subscribe to this channel to help it grow. Amara's hand froze on the silver tray she was carrying when she saw it. The mark, that unmistakable pattern of 3 interlocking circles, burned into the skin just below his collar, partially visible as he reached across his mahogany desk for a glass of whiskey. Her breath caught in her throat, and the tray slipped from her trembling fingers, crystal glasses shattering against the marble floor of his penthouse office. Kwon Jae-sung turned slowly, his dark eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. His expression was unreadable, carved from stone, the kind of face that had witnessed terrible things and inflicted worse. Problem? His voice was silk wrapped around a blade, Korean accent barely noticeable beneath his perfect English. She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, because that mark, she knew that mark. She had seen it once, 7 years ago in the darkness of a shipping container on the Lagos docks. She had hidden there with dozens of other women, all of them promised jobs in Europe, all of them betrayed and sold. And in that container, she had seen a teenage boy, maybe 16, unconscious and bleeding. That same mark burned into his skin. She had given him her only bottle of water, pressed her scarf against his wounds to stop the bleeding, whispered prayers over him in Yoruba while the traffickers decided which port to take them to. She never knew his name, never saw his face clearly in the suffocating darkness. But that mark, shaped like an ancient Korean symbol, had been burned into her memory forever. And now the boy she had tried to save was standing in front of her as the most feared Korean Mafia boss in New York City. "I'm sorry, Mr. Kwon," she managed, dropping to her knees to collect the broken glass, her hands shaking so badly she could barely hold the pieces. Her dark skin contrasted sharply against the white shards, and she felt the familiar weight of invisibility settling over her shoulders. He moved toward her with predatory grace, and she felt the heat of his presence before she saw his expensive Italian shoes enter her field of vision. "Look at me." The command was soft but absolute. When her eyes met his, something flickered in his expression. Recognition, confusion, something dangerous and unnameable. "Do I know you?" The question hung in the air like a loaded gun, and Amara realized with terrifying clarity that her secret was about to unravel everything. If you want to discover how this story began and what happened after this moment of recognition, subscribe to the channel and leave in the comments where you're watching from. Each view helps bring more stories like this one. 5 weeks earlier, Amara Okafor had stood outside the glass and steel tower in Manhattan's Koreatown, clutching her worn purse and trying to convince herself she belonged there. She didn't. Not with her faded cleaning company uniform and secondhand shoes, not with the exhaustion etched into her face from working overnight shifts just to send money back to her family in Lagos. But the cleaning company had been desperate for someone willing to work the penthouse level, and she had been more desperate. So here she was, about to clean the office of Kwon Jae-sung, a name whispered in fear across every immigrant community in the city. The elevator ride to the 50th floor felt like ascending into another world. When the doors opened, she stepped into a space that screamed power and control. Black granite floors, minimalist Korean art on the walls, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view of the city that made her dizzy, and in the center, a desk made of dark wood that looked ancient and priceless. "You're the new maid?" A woman in a sharp black suit looked her up and down with barely concealed disdain. Minji was her name, Mr. Kwon's executive assistant, and her expression said she'd already decided Amara wasn't worth her time. "Mr. Kwon is particular about his space. Don't touch anything on his desk. Don't move any papers. Don't speak unless spoken to. And most importantly, be invisible. He doesn't like to know the help exists." Amara nodded, swallowing the humiliation that came with being reminded of her place. She'd felt this way since arriving in America 3 years ago. Invisible, insignificant, easily replaced. Just another African immigrant doing work no one else wanted to do. The first 3 weeks passed without incident. She arrived at 5 in the morning, cleaned before Kwon came in, and left by 6:30. She saw glimpses of him only through the building's security monitors that the other cleaners sometimes watched. A tall, devastatingly handsome man in tailored suits, always surrounded by men who moved like weapons. His face was beautiful in a dangerous way, sharp cheekbones and intense eyes that seemed to miss nothing. But there was something cold about him, something that suggested the rumors about his business, dealings were true. But on the 22nd day, everything changed. She was dusting the bookshelves in his private library when she heard voices approaching. Male voices, angry and tense. She froze, looking around desperately for an exit, but there was none. The voices grew louder, speaking in rapid Korean that she couldn't understand. "I don't care what the Italians think." Kwon's voice cut through the air like a knife, switching to English. "They moved product through our territory without permission. That's a declaration of war. Boss, if we move now, we risk." I said I don't care. The door opened, and Amara found herself face to face with Kwon Jae-sung for the first time. He was even more striking in person, 6'2" of lean muscle and controlled violence, with black hair styled perfectly and a face that could have belonged to a model if not for the coldness in his eyes. He wore a black suit with no tie, the first button of his white shirt undone, and she caught a glimpse of something on his skin, a mark or tattoo she couldn't quite see, but it was the way he looked at her that made her heart stop. Not with anger or annoyance, but with a curiosity that felt almost dangerous. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice quieter now but no less commanding. "I'm Amara, the new maid. I'm sorry. I didn't know you'd be here so early. I'll just—" She moved toward the door, but his hand shot out, not touching her, but blocking her path. "Amara." He repeated the name as if tasting it. "Nigerian?" "Yes, sir. From Lagos." His expression shifted slightly, something she couldn't read passing behind his eyes. "How long have you worked here?" 3 weeks, Mr. Kwon." "And before that?" The question felt loaded, dangerous. "I worked at a hospital in Queens. Night shift, cleaning." "Why did you leave?" "They cut staff. I needed the money." She kept her eyes down, the way she'd learned to do around powerful men, the way she'd had to learn to survive. "Look at me when I'm speaking to you." Her eyes snapped up, meeting his, and something electric passed between them. His expression shifted just for a moment, as if he'd been struck by something he couldn't name. "You're educated," he said. It wasn't a question. "I was a nurse in Nigeria before I came here, but my credentials don't transfer, so I clean." The bitterness in her voice surprised even her. He studied her for another long moment, and Amara felt like he was reading every secret written on her soul. Behind him, the other man in the room, a massive bodyguard, looked shocked that this conversation was happening at all. "Carry on, then," Kwon finally said, moving past her. As he did, she caught his scent, expensive cologne mixed with something uniquely him that made her dizzy. She tried to focus on her work, her hands trembling. She couldn't help but steal glances at him. He was on the phone now, speaking in rapid Korean, pacing like a caged tiger, and then he shrugged off his suit jacket, and she saw it. Just for a second. The edge of a mark on his skin, 3 interlocking circles, visible at his collar. Her blood ran cold. No, it couldn't be. That mark, she'd only seen it once, in the darkness of that container. But it was so distinctive, so unusual. Her mind raced with possibilities, with memories she'd tried to bury. Over the next 2 weeks, Amara found herself in Kwon's presence more and more. He started arriving earlier, staying later, always seeming to be in whatever room she was cleaning. At first she thought it was paranoia, but then she caught him watching her, really watching her, with an expression she couldn't decipher. "Tell me about yourself," he said one morning, appearing in the doorway of his office while she was organizing his files. The question was so unexpected, she nearly dropped the papers she was holding. "There's nothing to tell, Mr. Kwon." "I doubt that. Everyone has a story. Mine isn't very interesting. I'll be the judge of that." He leaned. Against the doorframe, his posture relaxed, but his eyes were intense. "You said you were a nurse in Lagos. What kind of nurse?" She hesitated, but something in his eyes made her want to answer honestly. "Emergency room. I saw everything: gunshot wounds, stabbings, accidents. Lagos is not a gentle city." "No city is gentle if you're poor," he said quietly, and she heard something in his voice: experience, understanding. "What made you come to America?" The question touched a wound that hadn't healed. "My daughter. She's 8, still in Lagos with my mother. I send money back every month. She has asthma, needs medication, needs a better life than I could give her there. So I came here, thinking I could work, save money, bring her here eventually." She smiled bitterly. "But America is expensive, and illegal immigrants don't make much money cleaning offices." His expression hardened. "You're undocumented?" Fear spiked through her. "Please, Mr. Kwon. I need this job. I won't cause trouble, I'm not going to report you." He said it so simply, so definitively that she believed him. "How did you get here?" She shouldn't tell him. It was dangerous to speak about it, but something about the way he was looking at her, like he actually cared about the answer, made her want to trust him. "I paid a man in Lagos. He said he could get me to America, get me papers, get me a job. I gave him everything I had." The memory made her voice shake. "He took me and 20 other women to the docks, put us in a shipping container, said we'd be in the container for 2 days, then we'd arrive in Portugal and he'd have our papers ready." Kwon had gone very still, his expression unreadable. But 2 days became 4, then 5. The container was airless, suffocating. Women started dying. We screamed, banged on the walls, but no one came. On the 6th day, her voice broke. On the 6th day, they opened the container, but not to help us, to move us to another ship. That's when I ran. Just ran. Some of us escaped at the port. Most didn't. How did you survive?" His voice was rough, strained. "I don't know. Luck, maybe. God's grace. I hid in Lagos for a month, then found another way to come here. A church group that helped refugees. They got me on a plane with fake papers. I've been here 3 years now, working, sending money home, trying to save enough to bring my daughter here safely." The silence that followed was heavy. Kwon's jaw was clenched so tight she could see the muscle jumping. "The man who put you in that container," he said slowly. "Did you see his face?" "Yes, I'll never forget it." She closed her eyes, seeing it again. He had a scar across his throat. He spoke Korean to his men. I didn't understand the words, but I understood the meaning. We weren't people to him. We were cargo. When she opened her eyes, Kwon's expression had transformed into something terrifying. Pure, cold rage. "What else do you remember about that night?" The intensity of his question confused her. "Why? Tell me." She thought back, pushing through the trauma she'd tried to forget. "There was a boy in the container, young, maybe 16. He was unconscious when they threw him in, bleeding badly from his chest and back. The traffickers said something about him being a deserter, that he'd tried to run from his gang. They laughed about how he'd die in the container with us." Kwon's face had gone pale. "What happened to him?" "I tried to help him. I only had 1 bottle of water left, but I gave it to him. Used my scarf to put pressure on his wounds. The other women thought I was crazy, wasting water on a boy who was already dying. But I couldn't just let him. She stopped, her throat tight with the memory. Did he wake up? Once, just before they opened the container on the 6th day. He opened his eyes, looked at me. I don't think he knew where he was or what was happening. He was burning with fever. I told him in English that he was going to be okay, that he needed to stay alive. Then the doors opened and everything was chaos. I ran. I don't know what happened to him. He lived. Kwon's voice was barely a whisper. Amara's heart stopped. What? The boy. He survived. Kwon slowly unbuttoned the top buttons of his shirt, revealing his chest. There, burned into his skin just below his collarbone, was the mark. 3 interlocking circles. Because a woman with kind eyes gave him water and stopped his bleeding and told him to stay alive. The room spun. No, you can't be. You were just a 16-year-old kid who tried to escape from the gang that killed his parents and took him from Seoul. A kid who got caught and punished and thrown into a shipping container to die. His voice was hard, controlled, but she could hear the emotion underneath. A kid who survived because an African woman he'd never met decided his life was worth saving. Tears streamed down Amara's face. I thought you died. I prayed for you. For months, asked God to let you have survived, but I thought I nearly did die. The traffickers threw me out at the port with the bodies, left me for dead, but I woke up in a morgue, managed to get out, made my way back to Seoul, found what was left of my family's organization. His expression went cold. And I've spent the last 7 years building an empire and hunting down every single person involved in that trafficking ring. Did you find them? All but one. The man with the scar on his throat. Kim Sang-woo. He went underground after I killed his lieutenants, but I'll find him eventually. I always find them. The certainty in his voice sent chills down her spine. This was who he'd become. The scared boy she'd tried to save had turned into something dangerous and deadly. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry that you had to become this. His eyes snapped to hers, surprised. Sorry? You were just a boy. You should have had a chance at a normal life. Instead, you became... She gestured around the office. This is survival, he said coldly. In my world, you either become the predator or you stay prey. I chose to be the predator. And is that what you wanted? Or is that what you had to become? The question hit something in him. She saw it in the way his shoulders tensed, the way his jaw tightened. What I wanted doesn't matter. What I am is what matters. I don't believe that. She took a step closer to him, reckless and brave in a way she didn't recognize in herself. The boy who survived that container, who fought to stay alive, he wanted something better. He deserved something better. That boy died in that container. What came out was something else. No, she said firmly. That boy is still in there. I see him. Right now, looking at me like he can't believe I'm real. Like he's been searching for something he thought he'd never find. Kwon stared at her, and for the first time since she'd met him, his carefully controlled mask cracked. I looked for you, he admitted roughly. For years. Hired investigators, tracked down everyone who was in that container. But most of the women died. The few who survived scattered. There was no record of an Amara Okafor. You were a ghost. I gave the church group a false name when they helped me come here. Amara is my real name, but Okafor is my mother's maiden name. My papers say Sarah Williams. I've been hiding in plain sight. Why didn't you use your real name? Because I was afraid. The traffickers, they have long memories. I thought if I disappeared completely, changed my name, they'd never find me, never find my daughter. Something shifted in Kwon's expression. You have a daughter. Chidinma. She's 8. She's my whole world. Amara pulled out her phone with shaking hands, showing him a photo of a beautiful little girl with bright eyes and a wide smile. Everything I do is for her. Kwon stared at the photo for a long moment. She looks like you. She has her father's smile. He died before she was born. Car accident. I'm sorry. The simple condolence, spoken so quietly, nearly broke her. Life is hard, Mr. Kwon. We survive it however we can. Jae-sung, he said. Call me Jae-sung. That wouldn't be appropriate. Nothing about this situation is appropriate. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. You saved my life 7 years ago. I think we're past formalities. Before she could respond, his phone rang. He answered in Korean, his expression hardening as he listened. When he hung up, he looked at her with an intensity that made her nervous. I need to go handle something. But Amara, we're not done with this conversation. Not by a long way. What do you mean? I mean that you disappeared from my life once. I'm not letting it happen again. He moved closer, and suddenly she was very aware of how tall he was, how much space he took up. You saved my life. Now let me return the favor. I don't need your daughter. You said you're trying to save money to bring her here. What if I told you I could make that happen? Get her real papers, a real visa, bring her here safely within a month. Amara's heart raced. Why would you do that? Because I can. Because I have resources you don't. Because, he stopped himself. Because you deserve it. I can't accept charity. It's not charity. It's a debt repaid. His hand came up, hovering near her face but not touching. Let me do this. Please. The word please sounded foreign on his lips, like he didn't use it often, and the way he was looking at her, like she was something precious and fragile, made her want to say yes to everything. Okay, she whispered, but only if you let me pay you back somehow. You already did, 7 years ago. He finally let his hand fall. I have to go. But tomorrow, you're not coming here as a maid. You're coming as my guest. We have a lot to talk about. He left before she could argue, leaving her standing in his office, her mind reeling with everything that had just happened. That night, Amara lay in her tiny apartment in Queens, staring at the ceiling and trying to process everything. The boy she'd saved was alive. More than alive, he'd become powerful, dangerous, successful. And for some reason she couldn't understand, he was looking at her like she mattered, like she was visible. The next morning she arrived at the building at 8, as Kwon had instructed. But when she got to his floor, Minji was waiting with a completely different expression than usual, almost respectful. Mr. Kwon is waiting for you in his private dining room, Minji said. This way, please. Amara followed her through the office to a room she'd never seen before. It was elegant and intimate, with a table set for 2 and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. And Kwon was there, wearing black slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. You came, he said, and she heard, relief in his voice. You said we needed to talk. We do. But first you're going to eat. You're too thin. He pulled out a chair for her. When did you last have a real meal? The question caught her off guard. I eat. That's not what I asked. She sat, uncomfortable with being served instead of serving. I send most of my money home. Food is expensive. His jaw tightened. That ends today. Sit. The meal was Korean food, dishes she'd never tried before. Bulgogi, kimchi, japchae, banchan of various kinds. It smelled incredible. I didn't know what you liked, Kwon said, sitting across from her. So I ordered everything. This is too much. Eat, Amara, please. So she did, and it was the best meal she'd had in years. As they ate, they talked. Really talked. He asked her about Lagos, about her daughter, about her dreams. She asked him about Seoul, about his family, about what happened after the container. My father was a mid-level boss in a Korean gang, he told her. Nothing special, but he had enemies. When I was 15, a rival faction decided to eliminate his bloodline. They killed my parents, my older brother, my younger sister. I was supposed to die too, but I ran. Made it 3 blocks before they caught me. The mark, she said quietly. That's when they gave it to you. Yes, they branded me as a deserter, someone who ran instead of dying with honor. Then they threw me in that container, figured I'd die slowly and painfully. A warning to others. But you survived. Because of you. His eyes met hers across the table. I survived, made my way back to Seoul, found my father's old lieutenant. He took me in, trained me. By the time I was 18, I'd risen high enough to start taking territory. By 20, I'd eliminated the faction that killed my family. By 21, I was running the entire organization. And then, you came to America? 2 years ago. New York has opportunities. I built my empire here, made connections, expanded into legitimate businesses to cover the illegal ones. I became untouchable. But are you happy? The question seemed to startle him. Happy? Yes, with this life, with what you've become. He was quiet for a long moment. I don't think about happiness. I think about survival, about power, about making sure no one can ever hurt me the way they hurt my family. That's not living, Jae-sung. That's just existing. And what would you know about living? His tone wasn't cruel, just curious. You work 3 jobs, sleep 4 hours a night, send all your money to a daughter you haven't seen in 3 years. Is that living? The truth of it stung. No, but I do it because I have hope. Hope that one day, Chidinma will be here with me, that we'll have a real life together. What do you have hope for? He stared at her, and she saw something vulnerable flicker across his face. I don't know anymore. I've been focused on revenge and power for so long, I forgot what else there is. Then maybe it's time to remember. Before he could respond, his phone rang. Not his regular phone, but a different one, red and urgent looking. His expression changed immediately, going cold and hard. "Excuse me," he said, standing and walking to the window to take the call. He spoke in rapid Korean, his voice getting harder with each word. When he hung up, he stood there for a moment, his back to her, shoulders tense. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing you need to worry about." Jae-sung. He turned, and the look on his face made her blood run cold. Kim Sang-woo, the man who ran the trafficking ring. My men just found him. He's been hiding in New Jersey, running a new operation. Amara's stomach dropped. "What are you going to do?" "What do you think I'm going to do?" His voice was ice. "I'm going to kill him." "No." He looked at her like she'd spoken a foreign language. "No? Don't do this. Don't become a murderer because of me." "Because of you?" He moved toward her. "This isn't about you, Amara. This is about justice. This man put you in that container, put me in that container. He's responsible for the deaths of dozens of women. He deserves to die." "Maybe he does, but you don't deserve to have his blood on your hands." "I already have blood on my hands, more than you can imagine." "Then don't add more." She stood, moving closer to him. "You said that boy died in the container, that what came out was something else. But I don't believe that. I think that boy is still in there, still fighting, still hoping for something better. Don't prove me wrong." They stood inches apart, the tension between them electric. She could see the war raging behind his eyes, violence against something softer, something more human. "You don't understand my world," he said roughly. "In my world, men like Kim don't go to prison. They buy their way out. They disappear. They start over. The only way to stop them is permanently. Then turn him over to the FBI, let them handle it." "The FBI?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "They've been trying to catch him for years. He's too smart, too careful. By the time they build a case, he'll be gone." then build the case for them. You have resources, connections. You could gather evidence, hand it over, let justice work the way it's supposed to. That's not justice. That's bureaucracy. It's better than murder. He stared at her, breathing hard. Why do you care? Why does it matter to you what I do? Because I see who you really are under all this. She placed her hand over his heart, feeling it race beneath her palm. And I don't want you to lose that person. Not for revenge. Not for anything. His hand came up, covering hers on his chest. You barely know me. I know enough. I know the boy who fought to survive. I know the man who's trying to find me after 7 years. I know someone who's capable of more than violence and revenge. You have too much faith in me. Maybe you need someone who does. They stood there, her hand on his chest, his hand covering hers, the city sprawling beneath them through the windows, and then his phone rang again, shattering the moment. He answered, listened, and his expression went from cold to terrified in seconds. What? He barked. When? How many? Amara watched his face drain of color as he listened. I'm on my way. Lock down everything. Everyone. He hung up and looked at her with an expression that made her legs weak. We need to go. Now. What happened? Kim Sang-woo. He knows about you. He knows you're here, knows you matter to me. His voice was shaking with barely controlled rage. He just sent a message. He has your daughter. The world stopped. What? The word came out as barely a whisper. Your daughter. Chidinma. He has her. Amara couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. No, she's in Lagos. She's safe with my mother. She can't. He took her 3 hours ago, from your mother's house. His message said if I want her back alive, I will turn myself over to him within 24 hours. The room spun. Amara's legs gave out and Kwon caught her before she hit the ground. No, she sobbed. No, no, no. My baby. Not my baby. Listen to me. Kwon's voice was hard, commanding, cutting through her panic. I will get her back. I swear to you, Amara, I will bring your daughter home safely. How? He's in Lagos. We're here. She could already be. She couldn't finish the sentence. She's alive. He needs her alive to use as leverage. Kwon pulled out his phone, already making calls. I have men in Lagos. Good men. They're mobilizing now. We'll find her. And then what? What happens when you find her? Will there be a shootout? Will my daughter be caught in the crossfire? Her voice rose to a scream. This is my fault. If I hadn't told you about the container, if I'd just stayed invisible. Stop. He grabbed her shoulders. This is not your fault. This is mine. Kim is using your daughter to get to me, but I promise you, Amara, I will fix this. How? His expression went cold, deadly. By giving him exactly what he wants. No. Amara grabbed his shirt, her fingers twisting in the fabric. You can't turn yourself over to him. He'll kill you. Probably. But he'll let your daughter go first. That's how these negotiations work. I won't let you die for her. I won't. You don't have a choice. His voice was gentle but firm. I'm the reason she's in danger. I'm the reason Kim knows about you. This is my responsibility. Then we go to the police, the FBI, someone. And tell them what? That a Korean gangster kidnapped a child in Nigeria to get to another Korean gangster in New York? By the time they coordinate with international authorities, figure out jurisdiction, file the paperwork, your daughter will be dead. He cupped her face in his hands. I have men on the ground in Lagos right now. Men who know how to handle situations like this. Men who will do whatever it takes to bring Chidinma home safely. At what cost? Whatever it takes. He pulled her close, and she felt him trembling despite his controlled voice. I will not let another person I care about die because of my past. I won't. The words, person I care about, hung in the air between them. Before she could process what that meant, his phone rang again. He answered immediately. "Talk to me." He listened, his expression darkening. "Show me." He pulled up something on his phone, and Amara saw it was a video call. On the screen was a man with a scar across his throat, sitting in what looked like a warehouse, and beside him, tied to a chair, was Chidinma, her beautiful baby girl, tears streaming down her face, looking terrified. Amara's scream was raw and primal. "Let her go, please, she's just a child." Kim Sang-woo smiled, revealing gold teeth. "Ah, the mother. Good. I wanted you to see this." His English was accented but clear. "Your daughter is very brave. She hasn't cried much, yet." "Touch her, and I'll—" Kwon started, but Kim cut him off. "You'll what, Kwon? Come to Lagos and save her. You have 24 hours. You, for the girl. Simple exchange." "How do I know you'll let her go?" "You don't. But you don't have a choice, do you?" Kim leaned closer to the camera. "You took everything from me, Kwon. My operation, my money, my reputation. Yeah, I've been planning this for 2 years, waiting for you to care about something, someone. And then this woman appears." He gestured to someone off-screen, and another man appeared, showing a series of photos. Photos of Amara entering Kwon's building. Photos of them in the dining room. Photos that made it clear she was more than just his maid. "You should have stayed in the shadows, little African bird," Kim said to Amara. "But you got too close to the predator. Now your chick pays the price." "Please," Amara begged, her voice breaking. "She's innocent. She has nothing to do with this. Let her go and take me instead." "No," Kwon said sharply, but Kim was laughing. The mother offers herself. How touching, but no. I don't want you. I want him, the boy who survived my container, the boy who destroyed my empire. I want him broken and begging before I kill him." "You'll get your wish," Kwon said coldly, "but not until I see the girl released safely. She gets on a plane to New York, lands safely, and then I'll come to you." "You think you make the terms?" Kim's smile vanished. "I could kill her right now, snap her neck like a twig. But you won't, because if you do, I'll spend the rest of my life hunting down everyone you've ever cared about. Your sister in Busan, your nephew in Seoul, your mistress in Hong Kong. I've had them under surveillance for months. One word from me, and they all die. Slowly." Kim's expression flickered. Fear, brief but real. "So here's what's going to happen," Kwon continued, his voice deadly calm. "You're going to keep the girl alive and unharmed. You're going to put her on a plane tomorrow morning. When she lands safely in New York, when I confirm she's with her mother, then and only then will I come to Lagos. You can have your revenge, your moment of triumph, but not before the girl is safe." The two men stared at each other through the screen. A battle of wills played out across thousands of miles. "Fine," Kim finally said. "But if you try anything, if I sense a trap, the girl dies. Understand?" "Understood." "Put her on the phone." Kim moved the camera closer to Chidinma. The little girl was shaking, her eyes wide with terror. "Mama?" Her voice was so small, so scared. "Baby, I'm here." Amara pressed closer to the phone, tears streaming down her face. "I'm right here. Everything is going to be okay?" "I'm scared, Mama. I want to come home." "You will, baby. You will. Tomorrow you're going to get on a plane and come see Mama. Can you be brave for me until then?" "I'll try. That's my strong girl. I love you so much." "I love you too, Mama." Kim ended the call abruptly, and the screen went black. Amara collapsed, her entire body shaking with sobs. Kwon caught her, holding her as she broke apart. "I've got you," he murmured. "I've got you. My baby. My baby is so scared. She's alive. She's strong, like her mother, and she'll stay alive." He pulled back, forcing her to look at him. "I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" What are you planning? I'm going to get your daughter on that plane tomorrow, and then I'm going to make sure Kim Sang-woo never hurts anyone again. By sacrificing yourself. If that's what it takes. No. She grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. There has to be another way. There isn't. Kim wants revenge. He wants me to suffer before I die, and he'll use your daughter to make that happen unless I give him what he wants. Then take me with you. When you go to Lagos, take me with you. Absolutely not. She's my daughter, Jae-sung. If you're walking into danger, I'm coming too. So you can watch me die? So Kim can torture both of us in front of your daughter? No. Then what do you suggest? That I just sit here while you fly to Lagos and let yourself be killed? Her voice rose, anger mixing with fear. That I live with that guilt for the rest of my life? You'll live. That's what matters. You and Chidinma will be safe, and you'll live. You'll go back to Lagos, be with your daughter, have the life you always wanted. Without you, I'm a criminal, Amara, a killer. You'd be better off without me anyway. She slapped him. The sound cracked through the room, sharp and shocking. His head snapped to the side, a red mark blooming on his cheek. Don't you dare, she said, her voice shaking with fury. Don't you dare decide what I'd be better off with. You don't get to play hero and martyr and then tell me I'll be fine. I won't be fine. My daughter won't be fine, because you'll be dead, and it will be because of us. He stared at her, his cheek still red from her hand. You saved my life once. Let me return the favor by saving your daughter's life. I saved your life because I believed it was worth saving. Because I believed that boy deserved a chance. Don't prove me wrong by throwing that life away now. What else can I do? The question was raw, desperate. Tell me, Amara. What else can I possibly do? Fight. Not with violence, not with revenge, but with strategy. You're smart, Jae-sung. You built an empire from nothing. You survived things that should have killed you. Use that. Find another way. There is no other way. Then make one. They stood there, both breathing hard, the air between them crackling with tension and fear and something else, something neither of them wanted to name. I can't lose you, she finally whispered. I just found you again. I can't lose you. His resolve cracked. She saw it happen, saw the cold mask slip away to reveal the vulnerable boy underneath. He pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. I can't lose you either, he admitted roughly. Or your daughter, but I don't know how to save you both and survive. I don't know how to win this. Then we figure it out together. He pulled back, searching her eyes. You're not a part of this world. You shouldn't have to. I became part of it the moment I gave water to a dying boy in a shipping container. The moment I chose to see him as human instead of just another casualty. I'm already in this, Jae-sung. Let me help. He was quiet for a long moment, and she could see him thinking, calculating, weighing options. There might be a way, he said slowly. But it's dangerous, and it requires you to trust me completely. Tell me. Kim wants me broken before he kills me. He wants to see me suffer. What if we give him what he wants, but on our terms? I don't understand. What if I go to Lagos, let him think he's won, but have my men positioned to extract your daughter the moment she's safe? Then, while he's gloating, while he thinks he has control, we turn the tables. How? By having evidence of everything he's done, every trafficking operation, every murder, every illegal deal. We've been gathering it for years. What if we give it all to the authorities? Not just in Korea or America, but internationally. Interpol, FBI, every agency that wants him. We make him so toxic, so wanted, that his own people turn on him. Will that work? I don't know, but it's better than just walking in there to die. Amara thought about it, her mind racing. What about Chidinma? If your plan fails, if something goes wrong, my best men will be with her from the moment she lands. She'll be protected, no matter what happens to me. I swear it, Amara. Your daughter will be safe." She searched his eyes, looking for any hint of deception or false hope, but all she saw was fierce determination and something deeper, something that looked like love. "Okay," she said. "Okay, but I have one condition. Anything. I come with you to Lagos. Amara. Not to the meeting with Kim, but I stay in Lagos while this happens. I need to be close to my daughter. I need to be there when she's freed. Can you understand that?" He studied her face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Yes, I can understand that. Then we do this together. We save my daughter, we stop Kim, and we both survive. Deal?" He pulled her close again, and this time when he kissed her, it was fierce and desperate and full of promise. When they broke apart, he pressed his forehead against hers. "Deal," he whispered. "We both survive." The next 18 hours were a blur of planning and preparation. Kwon's men moved with military precision, coordinating with his contacts in Lagos, arranging safe houses, mapping escape routes. Amara watched him work, saw the brilliant tactical mind beneath the cold exterior, and understood how he'd built such a powerful empire. But she also saw the cracks, saw him hesitate when giving certain orders, saw his hand shake slightly when he looked at the photo of Chidinma, saw the fear I was trying so hard to hide. "You don't have to pretend with me," she said quietly, late that night as they sat in his office reviewing plans. "Pretend what?" "That you're not scared. That this isn't terrifying." His jaw tightened. "If I show fear, my men will doubt. Doubt gets people killed. Your men aren't here right now. It's just us." She moved closer, taking his hand. "It's okay to be scared. I've faced down rival gangs, corrupt cops, trained killers. I've been shot, stabbed, nearly blown up. But this," his voice cracked, "the thought of failing you, of your daughter dying because of me, it's more terrifying than anything I've ever faced. Then we make sure that doesn't happen. And if I can't, if I fail, you won't. Because that boy who survived the container, who fought his way back from death, he doesn't know how to quit. And I believe in him." He looked at her with such raw emotion that it took her breath away. "I don't deserve you." "Maybe not. But you have me, anyway." He pulled her into his lap, holding her like she was the only solid thing in a crumbling world, and maybe she was. They sat like that for a long time, drawing strength from each other until Kwon's phone buzzed. He checked it, and his expression hardened. "The plane lands in 6 hours, JFK Airport. My men will be there to receive her." Amara's heart raced. 6 hours. "My baby will be here in 6 hours. If Kim keeps his word. He will. He wants you too badly to risk losing his leverage." Kwon nodded, but she could see the tension in his shoulders. "Once we confirm she's safe, I have a 12-hour window to get to Lagos before Kim assumes I'm not coming. Then we leave as soon as she lands. Amara, are you sure about this? You could stay here with Chidinma. Let me handle Kim. We've been through this. I'm coming." He looked like he wanted to argue, but instead he just held her tighter. "Then you follow my instructions exactly. No heroics, no improvising. In my no world, people who don't follow orders end up dead." "I understand." "I mean it. When we're in Lagos, you do exactly as I say, when I say it. Can you promise me that?" She pulled back to look at him. "Can you promise me something in return?" "What?" "That you won't sacrifice yourself if there's another option. That you'll fight to survive. Not just for me or Chidinma, but for yourself." His eyes searched hers. "Why does that matter so much to you?" "Because in the last few weeks I've seen who you really are under the armor. I've seen kindness and vulnerability and someone worth saving. And I think you deserve a chance at a real life, not just existence in the shadows." "A real life," he repeated, like the words were foreign. What would that even look like for someone like me? I don't know. But maybe we could figure it out together, if we both survive this. Together, he murmured, testing the word. Then he kissed her again, soft and slow this time, like he was trying to memorize the taste of her. I've never had a together before. Never had anyone who wanted that with me. You do now. They spent the remaining hours before the plane landed, going over the plan repeatedly. Kwon's men would meet Chidima at the airport with proper documentation showing Amara as her mother. They'd take her to a safe house in Manhattan, heavily guarded, while Kwon and Amara flew to Lagos. Once there, they'd stay in separate locations until the meeting with Kim. Kwon would go in wired, with snipers positioned around the warehouse, extraction teams on standby. The moment Kim revealed enough evidence of his crimes on tape, the teams would move in. What if he searches you for a wire? Amara asked. He will. That's why the wire won't be on me. Kwon pulled out what looked like an ordinary button. This is a listening device. It'll be sewn into my shirt. Military grade, undetectable unless you know exactly what to look for. And the snipers? Won't he have his own men watching for that? Of course. That's why mine are better. His smile was cold. I've spent 7 years building the best team in the business. They know how to be invisible. Amara shivered. This was his world, violence and strategy and calculated risks. And she was about to step into it. At 4 a.m, they drove to JFK. Kwon had a private area arranged, away from the main terminals. Amara paced nervously, watching the flight information on Kwon's phone. Plane just landed, he said. She's on the ground. Amara's legs nearly gave out. Thank God, thank God. My men are moving to the gate now. They'll have her within 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes felt like hours. Amara couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only pray that this wasn't some cruel trick, that Kim would actually keep his word. Then Kwon's phone rang. Talk to me, he answered. He listened, and slowly his expression shifted to relief. Good. Take her to the safe house. No stops, no detours. He hung up and looked at Amara. She's safe. They have her. Amara sobbed, her knees buckling. Kwon caught her, holding her up. She's okay? Scared but unhurt. They're taking her to the safe house now. You can video call her once she's there. I need to see her. I need to. You will. But first, we need to get to the airport. Our plane to Lagos leaves in 2 hours. Can't I see her first? Just for a few minutes? Kwon's expression was pained. If we deviate from the timeline, Kim will know. He has eyes everywhere, Amara. We have to assume he's watching us right now. If he sees you with Chidinma, if he thinks we're stalling or planning something, he could have sleeper agents here activate. Could target her again. The thought made Amara's blood run cold. Okay, you're right. You can call her from the plane. Talk to her, see her face. Tell her you love her. I promise. They drove straight to the private airfield where Kwon's jet was waiting. It was sleek and expensive, the kind of plane that screamed wealth and power. As they boarded, Amara looked around at the leather seats, the polished wood, the luxury that seemed obscene given what they were about to face. I know what you're thinking, Kwon said as the plane took off. How can I afford this? What kind of blood money paid for it? I wasn't. Yes, you were. And you're right to wonder. He poured himself a drink, whiskey that probably cost more than she made in a month. Everything I have came from violence and crime. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not ashamed either. It's how I survived. I'm not judging you, Jae-sung. Aren't you? He looked at her, his eyes tired. You're a nurse. You spent your life helping people, saving lives. I've spent mine taking them. How can you even stand to be near me? She moved to sit beside him, taking the glass from his hand and setting it down. Because I see what you don't. That every choice you made was about survival. You were a traumatized 16-year-old boy with no family, no resources, no options. You did what you had to do to stay alive. That doesn't excuse it. No, but it explains it. And the fact that you question yourself, that you struggle with what you've become, that tells me there's still good in you. You have too much faith in me. Someone needs to. She pulled out her phone. Can I call now? Can I see my daughter? He nodded, pulling out his own phone to set up the secure connection. Within seconds, the screen filled with Chidama's face. She was in a beautiful room, sitting on a large bed, one of Kwon's female guards beside her. Mama! Chidama's face lit up, tears streaming down her cheeks. Mama, you're really here. I'm here, baby, I'm here. Amara was sobbing too, unable to stop. Are you okay? Did they hurt you? No, Mama. I was scared, but they didn't hurt me. And now I'm in this big house with nice ladies who gave me food and showed me American TV. Her English was accented, a beautiful mix of Nigerian and American influences from their video calls over the years. That's good, baby. That's so good. When can I see you? Really see you, not just on the phone? Amara looked at Kwon, who nodded slowly. Soon, my love. Very soon. Mama has to take care of something first, but then we'll be together. I promise. Is that the man who saved me? Chidama was looking at Kwon now. The ladies said a man named Mr. Kwon saved me from the bad people. Kwon moved closer to the screen. Hello, Chidama. Yes, I helped get you to America. Chidama studied him with the serious expression children get when they're sizing up adults. Are you Mama's friend? Yes, I'm your Mama's friend. She doesn't have many friends. She works too much. Then, with the blunt honesty of children, are you her boyfriend? Amara's face heated. Chidama. But Kwon smiled, a real smile that transformed his face. Would that be okay with you if I was? Chidama considered this. Do you make her happy? I'm trying to. Do you promise not to hurt her? Her last boyfriend was mean. I promise. I would never hurt your mother. Okay then. You can be her boyfriend. She said it so matter-of-factly that both adults laughed despite everything. They talked for another 20 minutes, Amara telling her daughter how much she loved her, how brave she was, how everything was going to be okay. When they finally ended the call, Amara felt both better and worse. Better because Chidama was safe. Worse because she was flying into danger while her daughter waited for her. She's strong, Kwon said quietly, like her mother. She's everything to me. If anything happens, nothing will happen. She's in the safest place in New York. I have 12 men guarding that house, the best security system money can buy, and orders to shoot first and ask questions later if anyone suspicious approaches. I meant if anything happens to us. To me. His jaw tightened. Nothing is going to happen to you. But if it does, promise me you'll take care of her. Get her citizenship, make sure she has a good life. Promise me, Jae-sung. Don't ask me to make that promise. Why not? Because it means accepting the possibility that you might not survive, and I can't accept that. I won't. She took his hand, forcing him to look at her. Promise me anyway, for my peace of mind. He stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. I promise. If anything happens to you, I'll take care of Chidama like she's my own daughter. She'll never want for anything. She'll have the best education, the best life. I swear it. Thank you. She leaned against him, exhausted and terrified. I'm scared, Jae-sung. So am I. He wrapped his arm around her, holding her close. But we're going to get through this. Together. The flight to Lagos took 16 hours. They landed at Murtala Muhammad International Airport at dawn, the humid African air hitting them as soon as they stepped off the plane. Kwon had arranged for separate vehicles. Amara would go to a hotel in Victoria Island, one of the safer areas of Lagos. Kwon would go to his safe house in Ikoyi. "I don't like us being separated," Amara said as they stood by the cars. "I don't either. But if Kim has people watching the airport, and he probably does, they need to see me alone. Need to think you stayed in New York with your daughter. When will I see you again?" "After the meeting with Kim. If everything goes according to plan, it'll be over in a few hours." He cupped her face, his thumb brushing her cheek. "Stay in the hotel room. Don't leave for any reason. I'll have 2 men outside your door at all times. And if something goes wrong, it won't." "Jae-sung, if something goes wrong," he said quietly, "my men have orders to get you out of the country immediately. There's a private plane on standby. They'll take you back to New York, to Chidinma." "And leave you?" "And save yourself." His voice was firm. "That's the deal, Amara. You promised to follow my orders." She wanted to argue, wanted to refuse, but she'd given her word. "I hate this." "I know, but I need to know you're safe. It's the only way I can focus on what needs to happen." She pulled him down for a kiss, pouring every ounce of fear and love and desperation into it. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. "Come back to me," she whispered. "Always." He kissed her forehead, then forced himself to step back. "Go. My men will take care of you." She got into the car, watching through the window as he climbed into his own vehicle. As they drove in opposite directions, she felt like she was being torn in half. The hotel was luxurious, overlooking the Lagos Lagoon, but Amara barely noticed the elegant room or the beautiful view. She paced like a caged animal, checking her phone every few seconds, waiting for word from Kwon. It came 3 hours later. A text message. "Meeting is set. 1 hour. I'll contact you when it's done." She typed back, "Be careful. Come back to me." His response was immediate. "I will. I have too much to live for now." That hour was the longest of Amara's life. She tried to pray, tried to distract herself with TV, tried to breathe normally, but all she could think about was Kwon walking into that warehouse, facing the man who'd tortured him, who'd tried to kill him. Her phone rang, making her jump, but it wasn't Kwon. It was an unknown Lagos number. "Hello?" "Amara Okafor." Kim Sang-woo's voice made her blood run cold. Or should I say, Sarah Williams. So many names, little bird. "How did you get this number?" "I have my ways. Did you think I wouldn't find out you came to Lagos? That I wouldn't have people watching the airport?" Her heart hammered against her ribs. "What do you want?" "The same thing I've always wanted. Revenge. But I've changed the terms." He laughed, the sound cruel. "Your boyfriend is on his way to the warehouse right now, but what he doesn't know is that I've wired the entire building with explosives. The moment he walks in, boom, no more Kwon Jae-sung." "No," Amara screamed. "You said you wanted him alive. You said..." "I lied. You think I'd give him a chance to escape, to turn the tables? No. He dies today, and you get to live with the knowledge that you brought him back to Lagos, that you convinced him there was another way. His death is on your hands." The line went dead. Amara didn't think. She grabbed her phone, threw open the hotel room door, and ran past the startled guards. "Mrs. Williams, you can't. He's going to die. The warehouse is rigged to explode. We have to warn him." The guards exchanged looks. "We have orders to keep you here." "I don't care about your orders. Call him. Warn him." One of the guards was already pulling out his phone, but Amara didn't wait. She ran for the stairs, taking them 2 at a time, the guards shouting behind her. She burst into the lobby and out, onto the street, frantically waving for a taxi. "Please," she shouted in a mix of English and the Yoruba she'd grown up speaking. "I need to get to Apapa, the warehouse district. It's an emergency." A taxi screeched to a halt, and she jumped in, giving the driver the address Kwon had mentioned in his planning. The guards were running out of the hotel now, but the taxi was already pulling into traffic. "Drive fast," she begged. "Please, someone's life depends on it." The driver looked at her in the rearview mirror, saw the desperation on her face, and pressed the accelerator. They wove through Lagos traffic, the driver shouting at other cars, laying on the horn. Amara tried calling Kwon, but it went straight to voicemail. She tried the number he'd given her for his second-in-command, a man named Chen. It rang once before connecting. "This is Chen. It's Amara. The warehouse is rigged with explosives. Kim called me, told me he's going to blow it up the moment Jae-sung enters. You have to warn him." There was a pause, then Chen's voice came back urgent and sharp. "When did Kim call you?" 2 minutes ago, maybe 3. Please tell me you can reach him." Boss went radio silent 5 minutes ago. Standard protocol for the final approach. He didn't want Kim detecting any signals. Chen cursed in Korean. "How far are you from the warehouse?" "I don't know. We're in traffic. Maybe 20 minutes? "Stay away from there. If it's rigged to blow, I'm not staying away. He's walking into a death trap because of me." "Ma'am, with respect, you can't help him. You're not trained for this." "I don't care. Just get your men there, please." She hung up and leaned forward to the driver. "Faster, please." The warehouse district of Apapa was a maze of shipping containers and industrial buildings. The taxi driver pulled up to the address with a screech of tires. "You sure you want to be here? This is not a safe place." Amara threw money at him and jumped out. In the distance, she could see a large warehouse with several black SUVs parked outside. Kwon's men. She ran toward them, her lungs burning, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might explode. One of the men saw her coming and moved to intercept. "Ma'am, you can't be here." "Where is he? Where's Jae-sung?" "He went in 3 minutes ago." 3 minutes. Kim said he'd blow the building the moment Kwon entered. Why hadn't it exploded yet? "The building is rigged with explosives," she gasped. "Kim called me. He's going to blow it up." The man's expression changed instantly. He spoke rapidly into his radio in Korean, then looked at her. "Our sweep showed no explosives." "Then he hid them somewhere you couldn't detect. You have to get him out." More of Kwon's men were gathering now, weapons drawn, faces tense. Chen appeared, a compact man in his 40s with cold, calculating eyes. "I'm Chen. You're the woman." "Yes. Please, you have to get him out of there. If we breach now, Kim, we'll know something's wrong. Could trigger the explosives early. And if you don't, he dies anyway." Chen stared at the warehouse, thinking fast. Then he made a decision. "Team 2, find those explosives. Team 1, with me. We breach in 30 seconds. He looked at Amara. "You stay here. If this goes wrong, you run. Understand?" She nodded, lying. She wasn't going anywhere. Chen and his men moved toward the warehouse with practiced efficiency. Amara counted the seconds. 20. 15. 10. At 5 seconds, a massive explosion ripped through the side of the warehouse. Not the main building, but an adjacent structure. The shockwave knocked Amara off her feet, her ears ringing. She scrambled up, screaming Kwon's name, but she couldn't hear her own voice. Through the smoke and debris, she saw Chen's team breaching the main warehouse entrance. Gunfire erupted, sharp cracks that cut through the ringing in her ears. And then she saw him, Kwon, stumbling out of the warehouse. His face bloody, his suit torn. But alive. He was alive. She ran toward him without thinking, without caring about the danger. He saw her coming and his eyes went wide with shock and fury. "Amara, get back." But she was already there, throwing her arms around him, sobbing into his chest. "You're alive. Thank God you're alive." "You weren't supposed to be here," he said roughly. but his arms came around her, holding her tight. "You promised to stay at the hotel." "Kim called me. Told me he'd rigged the building. I had to warn you." "He called you?" Kwon pulled back, his expression darkening. "That means he knew you were here. Knew we were together. He was watching." He stopped, his eyes going wide. "No, it was a setup." "What?" "The explosion was a diversion. The real target. He was already pulling out his phone, calling someone. Chen, check the hotel, now." Amara's blood turned to ice. "Chidinma?" "Not Chidinma. She's in New York. But Kim must have had a second team. If he knew you were here. Knew we came together." His expression went pale as Chen spoke rapidly in his ear. "How many?" A pause. "Handle it. Kill anyone who resists." He hung up and looked at Amara. "He sent men to your mother's house in Lagos." The world tilted. "My mother?" "Chen's team got there in time. Your mother is safe. But Kim was tying up loose ends, trying to eliminate everyone you love to make you suffer before..." He stopped himself. "Before what?" "Before killing me in the warehouse. He wanted you to know everyone you loved died because of me. He wanted to destroy you emotionally before ending my life. That's the kind of man he is. But you're alive. The explosion wasn't where I was. I saw the charges when I entered, realized immediately it was a trap. Got out just before they blew." He touched his bloody face. "Debris caught me, but I'm fine." "And Kim?" Kwon's expression went cold. "Still inside. Chen's team has him cornered." As if on cue, two of Kwon's men emerged from the warehouse, dragging Kim Sang-woo between them. He was bloody and beaten, but conscious and defiant. "You think you've won?" Kim spat, blood on his lips. "You think this ends here? I have people everywhere, Kwon. They'll come for you, for her, for that little girl in New York. You'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder." Kwon moved toward him with deadly calm. Amara saw the rage in his eyes, saw his hand move to the gun at his waist. This was it. He was going to kill Kim right here, in front of everyone. "Jae-sung, wait," she said, grabbing his arm. "Let me go, Amara. Please, just wait." He looked at her, and she saw the battle raging behind his eyes, the need for revenge against something softer, something more human that she'd awakened in him. "He tried to kill your daughter, your mother. He was going to murder me and make you watch. He deserves to die." "Yes," she agreed. "He does. But not by your hand. Not like this." "Then, how?" She looked at Kim, then at the men surrounding them. "You said you had evidence of everything he's done. Every trafficking operation, every murder. Give it to the authorities. All of them. Make him face justice for every life he's destroyed." "That's not justice. That's bureaucracy. He'll buy his way out. Not if you make it impossible for him to hide. Not if you expose him to the world." She moved closer, speaking quietly so only Kwon could hear. "You said that boy died in the container, that what came out was something else. But I don't believe that. I think that boy is still in there, still fighting. And he deserves a chance to be something more than a killer. You deserve that chance." Kwon stared at her, his breathing harsh. "You're asking me to let him live. I'm asking you to choose a different path. Not for him. For you. For us. For the life we could have if you're not spending it looking over your shoulder, running from your own conscience." The silence stretched, out, heavy with tension. Kim was laughing now, a harsh, mocking sound. "Listen to your woman, Kwon. Be weak, let me live, see what happens." "Shut up," Chen said, hitting Kim hard enough to snap his head back. Kwon looked at Kim, then at Amara, then at the warehouse behind them. She could see him calculating, weighing options, fighting himself. Finally, he spoke. "Chen, get him in the car. We're taking him to the police." Chen looked shocked. "Boss?" "You heard me. We're turning him over to the authorities. along with every piece of evidence we have on him, every document, every recording, every photograph. We're giving them everything. That evidence implicates us too, Chen said carefully. I know. Sort it. Keep anything that directly ties back to our current operations, but everything on Kim's trafficking rings, his murders, his operations in Southeast Asia, all of it goes to Interpol. Kwon's voice was hard, commanding. And make sure every news outlet in Lagos, Seoul, and New York gets copies. I want his face plastered everywhere. I want him so infamous that no prison official, no judge, no corrupt cop will risk helping him escape. Kim had stopped laughing. You can't do this. Watch me. Kwon turned to Amara. Is this what you wanted? Is this different enough for you? She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Yes, this is different. This is better. It might not work. He might still get away. But you tried. You chose something other than violence. That matters. He pulled her close, kissing her forehead. You make me want to be better than what I am. I don't know if I can be, but I want to try. That's all I'm asking. Chen's men dragged Kim toward one of the SUVs. As they passed, Kim looked at Amara with pure hatred. This isn't over. When I get out, you won't, Kwon interrupted, because I'm also putting a bounty on your head. $2 million to anyone who kills you if you ever escape custody. Every criminal in Africa, Asia, and Europe will be watching you. You'll never be safe again. Kim's face went pale. He understood. Even if he somehow managed to escape justice, he'd just been marked for death by the entire criminal underworld. You've destroyed me, Kim whispered. No, Kwon said coldly. I've made you face consequences for once in your miserable life. There's a difference. As Kim was driven away, Kwon stood there, his arm around Amara, watching the warehouse burn. Fire trucks were arriving now, police cars behind them. It was time to go. We need to leave, Chen said, before the authorities start asking questions we don't want to answer. Kwon nodded. They got into one of the remaining SUVs, Chen driving, another guard in the passenger seat. As they pulled away from the warehouse, Amara finally let herself believe it was over. Is it really over? She asked quietly. With Kim? Yes. He'll never hurt anyone again. But my world, Kwon looked at her. My world is complicated. There will always be enemies, always be danger. I can't promise you a safe life, Amara. I'm not asking for safe. I'm asking for honest, for real. Can you give me that? He took her hand, threading his fingers through hers. I can try. But it means changing things, restructuring my operations, moving away from the violent parts of my business. Can you do that? I don't know, but I want to. For you. For your daughter. For... He stopped himself. For what? For the family we could be, if you'll have me. Amara's breath caught. Are you asking? Not yet. Not here, covered in blood in the back of an SUV. A smile tugged at his lips, real and warm. But soon, if you'll give me the chance to do this right. She leaned against him, exhausted and overwhelmed and happier than she had any right to be. I'll give you that chance, but you have to promise me something. What? That you'll let me help you. That you won't try to protect me by pushing me away. That we figure out this new life together. Together, he repeated, testing the word again. I like the sound of that. They drove to a private airfield where Kwon's jet was waiting. Within 2 hours, they were in the air, flying back to New York. Back to Chidinma. Back to whatever future they could build together. Amara fell asleep against Kwon's shoulder, exhausted from fear and adrenaline. When she woke, they were descending into New York. The sun was rising over the city, painting everything in shades of gold and pink. We're almost there, Kwon said softly. Your daughter is waiting. Our daughter, Amara corrected without thinking. Then she froze, realizing what she'd said. "I'm sorry. That was presumptuous. I didn't mean—" "Don't apologize." Kwon's voice was rough with emotion. "I'd like that. If you'll let me. I'd like to be part of her life. Part of your lives. She already asked if you were my boyfriend. And what did you tell her?" I said yes. He smiled, a real, genuine smile that transformed his entire face. "Good. Because I plan to be much more than that." The car ride from the airport to the safe house felt eternal. Amara's hands wouldn't stop shaking. 7 years of separation. 3 years of video calls and promises. And now finally she would hold her daughter again. Kwon kept his hand over hers the entire drive, steady and warm. "She's going to be so happy to see you. What if she doesn't recognize me? What if 3 years is too long and she'll recognize you? You're her mother. That doesn't change." The safe house was a brownstone in Brooklyn, elegant and secure, with guards posted discreetly at every entrance. As they pulled up, Amara saw the door open and a small figure appeared, held back by one of the female guards. "Mama!" Chidinma's scream was piercing and beautiful. "Mama!" Amara was out of the car before it fully stopped, running, stumbling, sobbing. And then her daughter was in her arms, solid and real and alive. They collapsed onto the steps together, holding each other, both crying so hard neither could speak. "My baby," Amara finally managed. "My beautiful baby. I'm here. I'm here now." "I knew you'd come." Chidinma sobbed into her shoulder. "I told them you'd come. I knew it." They stayed like that for a long time, rocking together on the steps, making up for 3 years of absence in a single embrace. Finally, Amara pulled back enough to look at her daughter's face. She'd grown so much. Her face had lost its baby roundness. Her eyes were wiser than any 8-year-old's should be. "Let me look at you," Amara said, touching her face, her hair, her shoulders, as if confirming she was real. "You're so big. So beautiful. When did you get so grown up?" "Grandma says I grew 3 inches this year, and I lost 2 teeth, see?" Chidinma showed her the gaps in her smile. "And I learned to read English really good. I can read chapter books now." "Really well," Amara corrected automatically, then laughed through her tears. "Look at me, correcting your grammar when I haven't seen you in 3 years. That's okay. Grandma corrects me too. She says proper English is important if I'm going to live in America." Chidinma's expression grew serious. "We're going to live in America now, right? Together? You're not going to leave again?" "Never. I'm never leaving you again, I promise." "You promised before." The words were said softly, without accusation, but they cut deep. Amara had promised 3 years ago that she'd come back for Chidinma in 6 months. 6 months had turned into a year, then 2, then 3, because America was expensive, and saving money was hard, and the world was cruel to poor immigrants. "I know I did, and I broke that promise. I'm so sorry, baby. But this time is different. This time I have help." She looked over her shoulder to where Kwon stood at the bottom of the steps, giving them space. "That's Mr. Kwon. He's the one who saved you. Who brought you here." Chidinma studied him with that serious expression again. "Is he really your boyfriend?" "Yes." "Good. You need someone to take care of you. You're always taking care of everyone else." Then, with the startling directness of children, she called out to Kwon. "Mr. Kwon, thank you for saving me." Kwon moved closer, climbing the steps slowly. When he reached them, he crouched down so he was at Chidinma's eye level. "You're welcome, but you were very brave. That helped a lot." "I was scared." Being scared and being brave aren't opposites. Sometimes being brave means being scared, but doing what you need to do anyway. Chidinma considered this. "Like Mama." She came all the way to America even though she was scared. That's brave. Very brave, Kwon agreed, his eyes meeting Amara's over Chidinma's head. Are you going to marry my mama? Chidinma. Amara's face heated, but Kwon just smiled. Would you be okay with that if I did? I asked you that already on the phone. You said you wouldn't hurt her. And I meant it. I'll never hurt your mother, I promise you that. Okay then. Chidinma nodded, satisfied. But you should know, I'm a lot of work. Mama says so. I ask too many questions, and I'm very particular about my food, and I have asthma, so sometimes I need my inhaler and… Chidinma, Amara interrupted gently. Mr. Kwon doesn't need to know all that right now. Yes, I do, Kwon said. I want to know everything about you, Chidinma. Your favorite food, your favorite color, what you like to read, everything. Because if I'm going to be part of your life, I need to know who you are. Chidinma's eyes went wide. Really? You really want to know? Really? Okay. My favorite food is jollof rice, the way Grandma makes it, not the party kind, because that's too spicy. My favorite color is purple, but not light purple. Dark purple like the night sky. I like to read books about magic and adventures and girls who save themselves instead of waiting for princes. I want to be a doctor when I grow up, like Mama was supposed to be. And I have asthma, so sometimes I can't run too fast, but I'm getting better with the medicine. She said it all in one breath, and Kwon listened to every word with complete attention. When she finished, he nodded seriously. Dark purple is an excellent color, and I think you'll make an amazing doctor. But for now, how about we get you and your mama inside? It's cold out here. They went into the brownstone, which was warm and beautifully furnished. The guards nodded respectfully as they passed, and Amara noticed how they looked at Kwon with a mixture of fear and loyalty. This was his world, power and violence wrapped in elegance. But as Chidinma dragged her through the house, showing her everything with childish enthusiasm, Amara saw something else, too. She saw how Kwon had made sure there were children's books on the shelves, how he'd arranged for toys and games, how the kitchen was stocked with foods an 8-year-old would like. He'd thought of everything. You did all this? She asked him quietly while Chidinma was examining a dollhouse in what was clearly meant to be her bedroom. I wanted her to feel at home. I know what it's like to lose everything, to be thrown into a strange place. I didn't want that for her. You're good with her. I have no idea what I'm doing, he admitted. I've never been around children, but I want to try. For you, for her. Before Amara could respond, Chidinma called out, Mama, can Mr. Kwon stay for dinner? The ladies here said they'd make anything I wanted, and I want to try pizza. Real American pizza. Amara looked at Kwon, who shrugged. I've never had pizza either. You've never had pizza? I grew up eating Korean food, and then I was too busy building an empire to eat much of anything. So no pizza. Amara laughed, the sound surprised out of her. Here was this powerful, dangerous man who'd built a criminal empire, who'd survived trafficking and torture and war, and he'd never had pizza. Then we're all having pizza, she decided. Chidinma, why don't you tell the ladies what kind you want? Her daughter ran off, leaving them alone for a moment. Kwon moved closer, his hand finding hers. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For letting me be here. For not pushing me away. I know my world is dangerous. I know you have every reason to take Chidinma and run. But you're letting me stay. I'm not letting you stay. I'm asking you to stay. There's a difference. She squeezed his hand. What you did in Lagos, choosing not to kill Kim, choosing a different path, that wasn't easy. That took courage. Or weakness. No. Killing Kim would have been easy. You've done it before. You know how. Choosing something different, something better, that's the harder path. That's strength. He pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. I don't know how to do this, how to be normal, how to be good. You Don't have to be perfect. You just have to try. We'll figure it out together. Together, he murmured. I'm starting to really like that word. That evening, they sat around the dining table eating pizza, Chidma between them, talking nonstop about everything she wanted to do in America. See the Statue of Liberty, go to Central Park, visit a real American school. She was animated and happy, her earlier trauma seemingly forgotten in the joy of being with her mother. But later, after Chidma had fallen asleep in her new bed, Amara checked on her and found her daughter crying in her sleep, whimpering. She climbed into bed with her, holding her close, whispering comfort in Yoruba until Chidma quieted. When she came out, she found Kwon in the hallway, concern on his face. "Nightmares?" he asked. "Yes. What happened to her? It's going to take time to heal." "I know. I still have nightmares about the container. About the day my family died. Trauma doesn't just disappear. How do you deal with it?" He was quiet for a moment. "I didn't. Not for years. I just pushed it down, used anger and revenge to cover it up. But lately," he looked at her. "Lately, I've been thinking maybe there's another way. Therapy, maybe. Talking about it instead of burying it." "You'd do that?" "For you. For Chidinma. For myself, maybe. I don't want to be broken forever, Amara. I want to be whole enough to deserve you." She took his hand, leading him downstairs to the living room where they could talk without waking Chidinma. They sat on the couch, and for the first time, Kwon really talked about his past. About his family, about the night they died, about the years after. About the things he'd done to survive, the people he'd hurt, the darkness he'd embraced. Amara listened without judgment, holding his hand, occasionally wiping tears from his face. When he finally finished, his voice was raw and exhausted. "So now you know," he said. "Everything. The worst of me. If you want to take Chidinma and leave, I'll understand. I'll make sure you're both safe, give you money, help you build a life far away from me, no strings attached." "Is that what you want?" "No. God, no. But it might be what's best for you." "Let me decide what's best for me." She cupped his face, forcing him to look at her. "I've seen the worst of you. And I still see the boy who survived, the man who's trying to be better. And that's who I choose. Not despite your past, but including it. All of you. How can you possibly? Because 7 years ago, I was in the worst moment of my life. Trapped in a container, watching women die, thinking I'd never see my family again. And a teenage boy I didn't know was dying beside me. I could have saved my water for myself, could have ignored him and focused on survival. But I didn't. I chose to help him. And that choice led to this moment, to us. Maybe that's fate. Maybe that's God's plan. Or maybe it's just what happens when people choose compassion over cruelty. You make it sound so simple. It's not simple. It's terrifying. You're dangerous and broken, and you live in a world I don't understand. But you're also kind and protective, and you're trying so hard to be better, and I love you for all of it. The words hung in the air between them. She hadn't meant to say it, not yet, not like this, but it was true. "You love me," he repeated, like he couldn't quite believe it. "Yes, I love you. Even though it's crazy, even though we barely know each other. I love you, Jae-sung." He kissed her then, desperate and grateful and full of wonder. When they broke apart, his eyes were wet. "I love you too," he whispered. "I think I've loved you since the moment I saw you, since I heard you playing my melody in your work. You saved me twice, Amara, once in that container and once in Lagos when you stopped me from becoming a complete monster. I don't deserve you, but I'm selfish enough to keep you anyway. Good, because I'm not going anywhere." They stayed up talking until dawn, making plans for the future. Kwon would restructure his businesses, moving away from violence and toward legitimate enterprises. It would take time, would be dangerous, but he was committed to trying. Amara would enroll Chidinma in school, would start looking into nursing programs so she could finish her education. They'd take things slowly, build a foundation, create a family. I want to do this right, Kwon said as the sun rose over Brooklyn. I want to court you properly. Take you on dates. Meet your mother officially, not just as the man who saved her life. Build a relationship with Chidinma. And then, when the time is right, when you're sure, I want to marry you. I'm already sure. Humor me. Let me prove I can be the man you deserve. She smiled. Okay, we'll do it your way. But Jae-sung? Yes? Don't wait too long. Life is short. We both know that better than most. 3 months later, Amara stood in the kitchen of their new home, a beautiful brownstone in Park Slope that Kwon had bought for them. Chidinma was at school, doing well despite the adjustment. She'd made friends, her English was improving daily, and her asthma was under control with proper medication. Amara herself had started nursing school at NYU, fulfilling the dream she'd given up years ago. It was hard, balancing school and motherhood, but Kwon supported her completely. He'd hired a nanny to help when Amara was in class, made sure she had everything she needed, and their relationship had deepened. They'd gone on proper dates to restaurants and museums and concerts. They'd introduced Chidinma to Korean culture, teaching her phrases, taking her to Korean restaurants. Amara had video called her mother in Lagos, introducing Kwon properly, watching her mother's face transform from suspicion to cautious approval as she saw how he treated them. Kim Sang-woo was in prison in South Korea, facing multiple life sentences. The evidence Kwon had provided ensured he'd never see freedom again. And true to his word, Kwon had placed that bounty, making sure every criminal in the world knew Kim was marked. He'd never escape. Kwon himself was changing. He'd started therapy, working through his trauma. He was slowly extricating himself from the violent parts of his empire, building legitimate businesses to replace the illegal ones. It wasn't easy, and there were still dangerous moments, still threats from rivals and enemies. But he was trying. Now, Amara heard the front door open and Kwon's voice calling out, "Amara, where are you?" "Kitchen." He appeared in the doorway, and her breath caught. He was wearing jeans and a simple sweater, his hair slightly messy, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. In his hands was a bouquet of purple flowers. "Dark purple," he said with a smile. "Chidinma's favorite." "They're beautiful. What's the occasion?" "Do I need an occasion to bring you flowers?" "No, but you look nervous. What's going on?" He set the flowers down and took her hands. "I have something to ask you. Something important." Her heart started racing. "Okay. I know I said I'd wait, that I'd take my time, prove I could be the man you deserve. But you were right. Life is short, and I don't want to waste another day not being yours completely." He dropped to one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. Inside was a ring, elegant and simple, with a purple stone at its center. "Amara Okafor, you saved my life when you had no reason to. You saw humanity in a dying boy in the darkness. You found me again against impossible odds. You made me want to be better, to choose life over death. Hope over revenge. You've given me a family, a future, a reason to wake up every morning. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you?" Tears streamed down her face. "Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yes." He slipped the ring on her finger, stood, and kissed her, deeply. And as they stood there in their kitchen, in the home they'd built together, Amara thought about that night 7 years ago, about the darkness of the container, the fear and desperation, the choice she'd made to save a stranger's life. That choice had led to this moment, to love, to family, to a future she'd never imagined possible. "The stone is purple," she said, admiring the ring through her tears. "For Chidinma, for both of you. My family." He pulled her close. Thank you for seeing me, for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you for letting me in, for choosing to be better. Later, when they picked up Chadma from school and told her the news, her daughter screamed with joy and threw herself at both of them. I knew it. I knew you'd get married. Can I be in the wedding? Can I wear a purple dress? Can we have jollof rice at the reception? They laughed, holding each other, the three of them together. A family forged from trauma and choice, from darkness and light. That night, after Chadma was asleep, Amara and Kwon stood on their back porch, looking at the stars over Brooklyn. "Do you ever think about that container?" Amara asked quietly. "About how unlikely this is? That we'd find each other again? All the time. Sometimes I think it was fate. Sometimes I think it was just random chance. But mostly," he turned to look at her, "mostly I think it was you. Your choice to help someone when you didn't have to. That choice changed everything. For both of us." "For both of us," he agreed. "You know what Kim said to me in that warehouse? Before the explosion?" "What?" "He said I'd spend my life looking over my shoulder, that I'd never be free of the violence and fear. But he was wrong." Kwon pulled her close. "I'm free. Because of you. Because you showed me there's another way to live." "We're free," she corrected. "Together." "Together," he repeated and kissed her under the stars. If you enjoyed this story of fate, redemption, and second chances, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Leave a comment telling us what you loved most about Amara and Jae-sung's journey. Share this story with someone who believes in the power of compassion and love. And stay tuned for more stories that will touch your heart. Until next time, remember that sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change everything. Thank you for listening.